Hello and welcome. You're tuned into Ask Profit. I'm Smriti Chaudhary and with me is Mathew. And for the next 30 minutes, we'll take all your stock-related queries. So write to us on any of our social media channels or on the WhatsApp number that is on your screen right now. You can also write to us through the YouTube live chat. We'll take your questions from there and get them answered by our fundamental and technical guests. But before that, let's take a quick look at where the markets are currently at. You have the benchmark that's close to the low point of the day, trading below 22,200, well below 22,200 rather, as we speak. So a bit of a negative day for the markets today, down about 0.3%. You look at some of the contributors of the Nifty 50 and there's something like a Maruti Suzuki that's down over 2.5%. There's Bajaj Auto down about 2%, Eicher down. So a couple of auto names that are in the red today, but among the biggest weights that have in the Nifty 50 index, there's something like ICICI Bank dragging, SBI dragging, RIL dragging. On the other hand, you have Bharti gaining, Infosys, HDFC, all in the green today. Let's look at the broader markets as well. Broader markets doing fairly well today compared to the benchmark. One mid-cap index up about 0.5%, and you have the small cap index as well doing well, up 0.5% in trade as well. Let's look at some of the counters that are moving. There's Hitachi Energy that's up over 9% in trade. You have Oberoi Realty continuing with gains for the second day after its fourth quarter earnings, up about 8% in trade. You have NCC up 7.5%, Titagarh Rail also post results up over 6.5% in trade. Now for something like a Titagarh, the results were okay. I mean, revenue up 8%, PAT up 63%, margin above estimate, but the PAT was up due to lower interest expenses and also a slightly higher operating income. So that's where we're seeing the profit was up because of that. But the stock in focus today is Apollo Tyres. That is also on the back of its fourth quarter numbers. It's up about over 2.5%. And to break down those numbers for us, we have my colleague Puneet joining in. Puneet, take it away.
Yeah, thanks for that. So it is, although a little low from its intraday high of roughly 7%, but that's dragged down by the broader Nifty fall that we've seen today. Now, if you see the results were largely flat compared to the previous year, with revenue just growing 0.2%, while EBITDA margins came in at roughly 16.4% versus 16% in the previous year. Now, this was on strong operating leverage that the company has seen in this particular quarter, but on net profit basis also, the net profit was down 14%, coming in at roughly 354 crores. Now, the major reasons for this particular fall was an EPR provision, which is the Extended Producer Responsibility Program, which is by the government. Now, what is actually this program is basically the Ministry of Environment, Forest as well as Climate Change has notified the companies to purchase certificate from recyclers. Now, this is because they are selling a pollutant, as they call it, and they have to be fulfilled by purchasing these certificates. Now, for this particular financial year 2023, they recognize a one-time impact of 31 crores, while for this financial year 24, they had an impact of 68 crores. But majorly, the stock is buzzing on good news that the management said, as well as good commentary going forward for the financial year of 25, and we'll see what brokerages have said also. So on key highlights, the international business has been led by strong growth seen in Europe versus a flat estimate for the industry. So they're growing across the board and against the industry trends as well. The FY24 margins were up by roughly 404 basis points to come in at 17.5%. This level has not seen by the company over the last 4 to 5 years because the debt has been reduced, and that's one of the key beneficiaries. The ultra high performance tires which they sell, which has a higher average selling price, has also the mix has improved to now 47%, up from 43%. So what are the brokerages saying? MK has a buy call with a target price of roughly 6 600 rupees, which is a 26% upside from the current levels. They have said that the replacement exports as well as Europe demand is one of the key positive for the company. Nomura has also upgraded the stock from a reduce to a buy with a target price of roughly 515, and Citi has maintained a target price of roughly 570 rupees per share, which is a 21% upside from current levels. So overall, decent flat set of numbers, but the commentary is what driving the stock price. Back to you.
Thanks, Puneet, for getting us those details. Well, Puneet pointed out it is off the high point of the day and trading with gains of about 2.5%. We've got Osho Krishan joining in, and we will soon have Shahina Muqaddam as well. We're trying to figure out certain issues with the line. But for now, let me go across to Osho just to get a sense of how you would trade the market right now. We have a few people that are looking for guidance on the trading strategy for the benchmark Osho for the Nifty 50. How would you trade it? And also if you have any recommendations for stocks individually to look at for the short term.
Very good morning to both of you. Well, now coming to the query on Nifty, see, Nifty is basically decoupling with the global markets, because we in today's session we have witnessed that the global markets were pretty positive and we opened also on a very decent note. But on the higher end, the 22,300 strike also is being coinciding with the 20-day exponential moving average, is being a very strong resilience for Nifty. So I'm expecting that in the short-term period, the higher thing has been made. Approximately 22,300, 320 on spot levels is a very strong resistance for Nifty. While on the lower end, I'm expecting a cushion around 22,120, which is the current levels where Nifty is trading around. So this is the first cushion that one can expect for Nifty for intraday. And from here onwards, there can be some marginal up move that can be seen near about 22,220 to 240 odd levels. But the broader perspective for Nifty lies in a 300 kind of a range from 22,000 to 22,300. So one have to follow a pragmatic view with buy on the dips and sell on the rise until we see a decisive closer above the 20-day exponential moving average, which is approximately around 22,320 odd levels. So until that time, one should not be very much bullish or very much aggressive in their long bets. Yes, but definitely try to utilize the lower ends like 22,120 or 22,100 as a buying opportunity for 50 to 60 odd points.
Okay, all right. We'll get your individual recommendations in just a bit. We're joined by Shahina. Shahina, good morning to you. We were discussing Apollo Tyres, and unfortunately, I don't think you would have been able to hear what my research analyst had to say. But PAT declined in the quarter gone by of as much as 14%. But there was some positivity that was taken, I believe, from the conference call. What did you make of the results? And would you buy the stock right now?
Yeah, I think it is an interesting buy. Couple of things. Yeah, I agree the PAT on a quarter basis was lower. But if you look at it on an annualized basis, profits were up by almost, 55% on a consolidated basis. And if you actually analyze it, basically the EBITDA margins. Now let's look at it on an annualized basis. The EBITDA margins were up sharply. If you look at FY23, they were just about something like 8%, and now it's around 12%. 12% plus EBITDA margins. So, and the raw material costs, actually, if you see going forward also, are likely to remain well under control, because you have rubber prices, you have carbon black prices, everything is, subdued. The prices are soft. And this is likely to continue for a couple of quarters going forward. Also, in terms of demand, if you see the tire demand in India, actually it's growing on a high single digit. Expected to grow in these levels over the next couple of years, 2-3 years. And Apollo Tyres is likely to actually gain in terms of market share. Demand remains robust. Profits, I think, will continue to show a robust growth on a YOY basis. International exports also picking up. So I think to that extent, Apollo Tyres in valuation also is looking much better than its peers. And EV by EBITDA is just about 7 times. So I think, if you look at it from a medium to longer term basis, it would be an interesting investment. Of course, you need to keep a stop loss, maybe close to about 450 and odds, because the overall market is, volatile. But I see you can reach a price of about 550 in a year's time.
Right. Okay. Let's start off with the queries now. And the first question is on a counter Piccadilly Agro. What a counter this has been. Luhana, I'm going to come. This one's from Luhana, and this from a longer term perspective. They bought the share at a price of 125 rupees. It's currently trading above 740 rupees. And you look at the fourth quarter numbers. You look at the yearly earnings update, Shahina, and you look at the stock performance. It's gained over 1500% in the last 1 year itself. It's logged at upper circuit today as well. For a stock like this, the management commentary also seems to be extremely positive from here on. But for somebody who's put in this money and is sitting on a considerable profit, would you suggest taking some money off the table?
No, I don't think so. Though, of course, I wouldn't suggest an immediate buy also for today because, of course, the stock price has rallied substantially. So one needs to, if you want to enter, yeah, you should look at dips. But I think, the overall, the product launches that they are doing are very interesting. Also, in terms of their profitability, while it has been subdued for the annual basis, I think things are improving if you look at it on a quarter by quarter basis. Also, in terms of revenue, the revenue growth has been strong, new product launches. It's a good stock to be in. I would suggest if you're invested, continue to remain there and you can add it dips.
Dips or add when the circuit opens, when you're able to, because right now there's no possibility of buying it in any case. The next question is on HDFC Life, and we've got a question from Anuj Dhamija, who's writing in from Saket in New Delhi, and he's bought at levels of 578 Osho. He's wondering what his short-term strategy should be on this counter.
Overall, HDFC Life has been into a very corrective phase from the zone of approximately 640 and is now hovering around 550. But looking at the overall perspective or overall technical developments, then from here onwards, the downside is very much limited. Near about 520, 530 is the downside that one can see in a coming future. So I'm expecting that post it testing the zone of 530, 520, there can be a decent up move. I'm not very much aggressive with the upside targets, but there can be a gradual up move specifically towards the reclaiming the previous swing high of 640 in the short-term period. So one should stay invested in this counter. Short to medium-term perspective, you can see a decent jump towards 640, and once the counter reaches the zone of 640, then again we need to review the counter.
All right. Next counter is Wipro, and this is from a shorter term perspective. The question is from Siva. They say they bought the counter at a price of 465. It's currently trading below that price. Also, a little bit of gains in the overall IT space today. But from a short term perspective, what would you suggest Siva to do with a counter that's been bought at a slightly higher price?
Overall, the prices are near about the same zone, 650, 665, 460 is approximately the same zone. But looking at the overall technical setup, the counter have seen a decent rally from the zone of 380 towards 540, 550 odd levels. Post that, there has been some correction, and overall IT space has not performed well in the past few months. But overall, I can expect that from here onwards, there can be a decent up move, a gradual up move for Wipro. And for immediate basis, what the one can target for 490 to 495. Once it reaches the zone of 495, 500, then from there onwards, one need to review that whether it is going to breach the zone of 500 or not. But at now, the counter is at a very comfortable position around the zone of 200 day SMA on the technical charts.
All right. We've got a question from Prasad, and he's asking about Midhani. He's bought 1,000 shares. I do not know. He said that he's bought at levels of 360 per share. And he's wondering whether he can hold for the long term, what the prospects are for the growth of this particular company and the counter. Any coverage, Shaina? Any advice that you can give him?
I think Medani is a good public sector unit, and it's got the benefit of being part of supplier to defense. I think to that extent, defense, the orders from defense, and they supply to some of the components for rockets also. I think the demand is very good. So one needs to be invested. I think metal prices, their raw material prices also should remain soft over the next couple of quarters. So I think to that extent, it's a good bet, PSU bet.
All right, it's time to slip into a short break, but we'll be back and we'll take more questions on the other side. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. You're watching Ask Profit. And in case you're just tuning in, you should see a number on your screen. I'm going to request yes. There you go. That number is where you send all your WhatsApp queries to us. And remember to tell us the name, your name, as well as the place that you're logging in from or tuning in from. The next question I'm taking is from Naman Deora, and he's writing in from Kolkata. He's asking about three particular stocks, and this is Capacity, as well as HG Infra and ITD Cementation. Osho, he's wondering which out of these three he should get into from the perspective of the next 15 to 20 trading sessions. So basically about a month's view.
See, overall, firstly, going with the Capacite. Capacite has been into the cycle of higher highs, higher lows from the last financial year, from the April 2023. And from that time, it has been hovering or taking support from the 100-day exponential moving average. In the last three sessions also, there has been a strong resurgence in this counter. So I'm expecting this counter has the potential to retest the zone of 320 on immediate basis. And once we see a breakout from the 320 zone, then another 60 or 40 odd points of rally can be seen in Capacite. The other counter, HG Infra, is again has given a very tremendous returns in the last 3 months. But overall, the risk-reward ratio for this counter does not suit as of now. So if one is having a position or holding a position, they should certainly hold with a trailing stop loss around the zone of 1300. But fresh accumulation in this counter is not advisable at current levels. And the third counter you have mentioned was?
So I just wanted you to pick one of the three. I'm guessing it is the first one.
Capacite is, yes, Capacite is looking more promising as compared to HJN.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take the next one.
All right, the next counter that we're talking about is Bharat Electronics. This one's from Jeet. They say they bought the counter at a price of 170 rupees. It's currently trading above 230 rupees. Shahina, a bit of a profit there for the viewer. Would you suggest holding on to it from a point of view of 2 years?
Absolutely. This is another stock which will benefit from defense, and a 2-year holding is definitely recommended. You can easily look for a target of about 280 to 300.
Got it. All right, the next one, I'm hoping that you can get us a view, Osho, and this is on InfoBeans. InfoBeans, which is currently trading at just about 418. It's got a market capitalization of just over 1,000 crore from what I can see. And we've got Anupam, who's writing in again from Kolkata. He's looking at the next 6 to 12 months. He's bought at levels of 435, which is slightly higher than the current market price.
See, overall, this counter is into a corrective phase, and there has been no signal or sign of any kind of reversal in this counter. So I would better say ki stay sidelines from this counter, because it is not being able to sustain above the 200-day SMA on the daily front. So the time it surpasses the zone of 445 and sustains above the same, then one can see some kind of traction. But looking at the overall trend, it's very weak. Better to stay sidelines. If you have positions, keep a strict stop loss of 395 and try to exit on any bounce.
All right, got it. The next counter we're talking about is Canara Bank. This question is from Geeta, who's writing in from Mumbai. They say they have shares of the counter they bought the shares at a price of 110 rupees, just slightly below what it's currently trading at. The question is, should you accumulate the counter at today's price? And this is from a longer term perspective. Shahina, would you suggest buying today from a longer term perspective?
I would prefer buying it at dips, not at current levels. It would be better to buy it, say, maybe, closer to about 105, 108. The thing is, actually, after the results, the stock has seen a bit of correction. But in terms of valuation, at less than 0.5 times book, it's still interesting from the long-term holding perspective. And it is one of the better managed PSU banks in the smaller than, of course, SBI, second after SBI. So one can add, but add it at dips.
Gokuldas Exports is the next counter that we're taking. This is a question from Mathew. He's writing in from Bengaluru, from Whitefield in Bengaluru, and he's got 125 shares, which he's bought at levels of 364. He's asking what his strategy should be. He's not really specified his time frame, but he's asking how long he should consider holding and what the next target would be. So I'm assuming, Osho, this is better suited for you. What is the strategy that you would employ on Gokuldas?
See, overall, this counter has been consolidating in a very broad range in the last 6 to 7 trading months. But overall, the positive development that we can witness that it is taking support of the 200-day SMA in the near period. So from here onwards, there can be some kind of traction that can be seen. On the lower end, the support lies around the zone of 780. On the higher end, the immediate hurdle is around 880 odd levels. The time it breaches the zone of 880, then from there onwards, we can see a movement of approximately 60 to 70 odd points in a short-term perspective. So one should definitely keep this counter in their investment portfolio and wait for some medium-term perspective to get a decent return.
All right. The next counter is SRF. This one is from Rajesh Maheshwari, who's writing in from Singapore. They say they bought the counter at a price of 2,330 rupees. It's slightly elevated levels there, Osho. From a short to medium term perspective, what key levels you should watch out for in this counter?
This counter has been into a consolidation phase from a very longer duration in the zone of 2100 to 2600 zone. So the time it breaches or the time it reaches the zone of 2100, one should definitely try to accumulate it, because looking at the overall setup in the last 2 years, 2100 has acted as a very strong support. And on the higher end, one should try to book their profits around 2600 odd levels. And this is the range that the counter is hovering within. If there is any decisive breakthrough above or below the range, then we can witness 500 points of another set of rally in this counter.
We have a couple minutes more. Let's try and fit in as many more as possible. Vinod from Chennai is asking about Power Grid Corporation of India, which he's bought at levels of 270. He can hold for the next 2 years. Shaina, the question is, should he?
Yes, he should hold. There's definitely a increase in supply and demand for power, and the power grid is well positioned.
All right. The next counter is Gland Pharma. This one's from Mr. GC Prakash. This is from a short to medium term perspective. They bought the shares at a price of 1,410 rupees, and so a considerable profit there. Osho, would you suggest booking that profit, or should you continue holding on to it?
Yeah, one should definitely hold to this counter for the timing. We can expect a decent run once it surpasses the zone of nearly 1820, 1840 in the short run. So keep a restricted stop loss around the zone of 1650 and hold this counter for short to medium term.
Ease my trip very quickly. 1,000 shares. I do not know the buy price, but Mr. Redaya from Tirupati is asking about what he should do. Should he hold on?
See, there has been no significant development in this counter, but overall the technical setup is very much conservative. So one can have or hold this counter on the lower end. 38 or 40 odd zone is acting as a very strong support. On the higher end, 54, 55 is the zone where one should try to exit from the counter.
So short-term view on Tata Motors, they bought the counter. Okay, there's no name. They bought the counter at John. Okay, 980 levels. So elevated levels. From a short to medium-term perspective, should you hold on?
There can be some kind of further dip in this counter, but overall 920, 910 is the zone where I'm expecting the sell-off to get halted. And from there onwards, one can definitely try to gauge, the counter can definitely try to recoup the losses. So I'm expecting on the higher end, 980, 990 should be seen from short to medium term perspective. For now, 10-15 points of downward movement is still remaining in the counter.
The very last question that I will slip in, Lakshman from Jodhpur is asking about Dredging Corporation of India. Shahina, if you have coverage, he's bought at levels of 750. He's looking for 1 year. Should he hold on?
Yeah, he should hold on. It looks good at current levels.
All right, thank you so much for that short view, Shahina, as well as Osho. Thank you so much for joining in, as always, and for answering all the questions that you did. Viewers, well, that brings us to the end of this edition of Ask Profit. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow to take more of your questions, and there's lots more coming up over the course of the day, so I'd encourage you to stay tuned. This is NDTV Profit.